Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday night on Telling Tales. It's Symbaroum. Of course, it's Symbaroum. What else would or could it possibly be? If you check down below the video, there's a number of links. Links to the various platforms are on social media, Discord, Patreon, merch store, all the usual good stuff. We run several weekly and fortnightly campaigns for TTRPGs here on Twitch and YouTube. We have on Mondays, currently we're just wrapping up We Deal in Lead. We finished Warhammer this just a few days ago, and both of those will give way towards the end of July for a big, old, long Call of Cthulhu campaign, specifically Masks of Nyarlathotep as GM'd by Johnny. We're looking forward to it. It'll be a good time. A good, horrific time. Wednesday nights is Symbaroum, of course, and Thursday nights is currently alternating between The Yellow King and a pre-recorded series that starts tomorrow, Delta Green, GM by Steve. It's Cosmic Horror season on Telling Tales. Remarkable. You'd think it was something we were good at or something. I don't know. You tell us. Okay, that's the blurb out of the way, and possibly in record time. Because it's not finished. We also do one-shots on an irregular basis, and the next one of those is on Saturday, the 20th of July, which is a return to Cyborg from Stockholm Cartel and Free League. So that'll be fun. Right, let's bring on our first player who'll start talking about recaps and nonsense like that. It's Chris. Chris plays Steo, former infantryman and guard turned adventurer. Chris told me that he has a gimmick that he's going to use in this recap. I don't know what it is, which, as Chris well knows, will have filled me with absolute anxiety. But Chris lives for my poor mental health. So, Chris, take it away. What's your gimmick?
I almost invented the recap gimmick, and I've been pretty good at it so far. But the gimmick tonight is I am going to give the recap of the thing, not in terms of what the party have done, but what Steo and indeed Chris thinks the circumstances that have led to this situation are. And I hope Matt doesn't correct me too much, because this is based on my knowledge. Some of it's going to be totally wrong.
Well,
so, oh God, I forgot to get the name of the city. What's the name of the city again, Matt?
Ravenna.
Ravenna is a city in the east of Yindaros. Not Yindaros, of this is not going well.
Ambria.
In the east of Ambria.
As someone who frequently fucks up in intro stuff, I'm loving this, let me tell you.
Yeah, this is great. This is my comeuppance. It is under the control of Duke Inadar, who, quite interestingly, has had a very liberal attitude and has built not so much a free port, but definitely a city where there is a great deal more cultural tolerance for the tribesmen of the north of these lands, which are kind of the indigenous groups who've survived in the forest of Davokar for years and years and years. And as such, certain things have gradually manifested in this meeting and melting pot of these cultures, one of which is that Ambria's kind of state religion is probably a little bit unfair, but Ambria's state religion of worshipping the sun god Prios originally evolved out of a polytheistic group, and that's kind of resurged in a small place in the middle of this town called the Church of the New Gods. And basically, that exists in this city. What also exists in this city is a witch called Algaia, who arrived and was one of the witches from the Plain civilization, who the Ambrians arrived as these kind of refugee colonizer entities and kind of wiped out. This is one of the witches from those original tribes of indigenous peoples who has come back and decided to cause some trouble.
Do you want me to interrupt you to correct you, or just sum it all up at the end?
I'd say interrupt me so I can course correct.
Sure. It's the Chapel of the Young Gods, and Algaia is not a Jezite. All the Jezites are gone. They were the Plains tribe. She is from Clan Karahar, which is definitely a Davokar tribe. You have met them in Davokar.
Great. Okay, thank you for that. However, she has a massive bee in her bonnet and decided to do a little murder. And I think this was the tipping point that caused, and I'm not 100% sure of the chronology, but I think this is the tipping point that caused Prios's church and the Black Cloaks, its most fervently proactive agents, to decide that now was the time to kind of get back in control of this. And I think initially through subterfuge, but more recently through actual armored boots on the ground, several of which we killed last session, came in and did some reprisal killings, including her understudy, a young witch, again from the Karohar tribe, who was a very kindly young lad, and the Umbardo, the previous high theurg of the town, who we discovered was very much into this Church of the New Gods, or Cult of the New Gods, that had established itself in town. And so I think we've arrived in the middle of a tit-for-tat killing situation. And I think we may have just rescued the Duke. You're on mute.
You indeed may have done just that. So yeah, you were looking for the Duke, who has gone missing, and after a big old fight against some of the agents of the whip of Prios, you during which a couple of you got really quite banged up. You said that essentially, as things calmed down and more of the the town guard arrived, yes, you heard a voice coming from deeper into the ruins that perhaps is the Duke, or perhaps not. We'll find out. But before we find out, let's start bringing on other people, because I almost started just running the session there with extra players. But instead, we've got John. John plays Sir Arendar, last scion of Housestar, turned sellsword and adventurer. John, what's Arendar's take on the current situation, and is he glad that he's not one of the party members lying bleeding on the floor?
He is very glad that he is not lying bleeding on the floor. His current feeling is slight frustration at this pesky Black Cloak, who I can't remember if they ran off or if the guards came in and took care of them. But people will remember that Aaron spent a lot of time trying and failing to hit this guy. His cat was more successful than he was, I think. And then eventually the cat gave up. So
yeah, that sounds
frustration, right. But glad that everyone is not currently dead, apart from the people we wanted to be dead.
I mean, that seems like a positive development. We also have in the group Stephen, who plays Alindra, former Templar novice turned blah blah blah. Stephen, you are one of the people lying bleeding on the floor. Although I think I kind of informally judged you as give you a D6 of toughness back because the guards attended you. I don't know what the medicus ability. Just take D6.
All right.
Yeah,
that's yes, because that was not really result. Cool. I rolled a 1, so that's it. We're off to a great start.
Off to a great start. Well, why don't we judge then that no one with medicus attended you, that you just had a herbal cure applied to yourself?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that works. Delighted with that one. How are you and Alindra feeling about all this nonsense?
I'm doing fine. It's some good quality roleplay business. Alindra not only has had better days. I was going through my notes from Witchhammer to see if I could remember the last time she's had a day as bad as this. I was trying to remember the name of that tall chap that attacked us on Yepharon Isle, because I think that's the last time that Alindra came that close to dying.
Has Alindra been downed before?
Rolls. I can't remember. She was definitely pinned under that guy and very close to it, but I'm not sure it came to death rolls that time. So this might be a first.
His name was Cleaver, incidentally.
Cleaver, that was it. Yeah. So I think this is. I think in terms of physical suffering, this is Alindra's lowest point.
Yeah, you just got run through.
Yeah, it was a real bad time.
Pretty bad going. And speaking of someone who partially put you there,
Oh,
let's
not
bring
that
on
guy.
not this guy again. Sam, aka Askarai, former forest scout and guide turned etc. How's Askarai feeling? Horribly guilty, I hope.
Yeah. Former scout turned friendly fire machine. I think Askrai's feeling very guilty, but equally as pleased that we've won and that he got to shoot some bad guys, not just good guys.
Yeah, not just. It's a good day when you can say I hurt bad people as well as good ones. I know that's that's the way I live my life. So there we go. All right, with no further ado, then let's bring ourselves to the scene of the fight. You're all either standing or lying in the ruins. Did we? Oh, they're all dead, right? I think we killed them all. Like I don't remember any of them surviving, right?
I think the ones who weren't dead were killed by the people coming in.
Yes, I judged that. Yeah. I think Ferren, the meerkat, got one of them, and then Revelia threw a spear basically clean through another one. So yeah, they're all dead. The town guard are kind of like swarming around. Revelia is kind of like in a little bit of shock and kind of knelt next to Elindra, trying to help with the herbal cure. Antom's definitely been healed up better, right? He's sort of like been healed up a bit by Steo, and he's now maybe on his knees next to Elindra as well, trying to help out. And as this is happening, a figure is clambering out of the hole in the center of the ruin. And I, of course, have not set up my my screen share today because apparently I just don't give a shit anymore. He looks like this. He's wearing clothing that is exceptionally notably well made and expensive in its fabric, but quite kind of conservative and not very affluent in like just the look of it. But nevertheless, it's an exceedingly well-made garment, although now one that's covered in slight tears and dirt of fleeing and hiding. A couple of the town guard kind of dash forward and help him out of the hole more thoroughly, and he looks around. You all take a note. Like, I'm not speaking for Anton because Mike isn't with us today, but Anton certainly recognizes this as Duke Inadar. And you all kind of like are struck by how, like, apart from the well-madeness of his outfit, the way he presents himself, his hair, everything, sort of, he just kind of looks like a handsome young farm boy, not really a duke or what you would expect from a duke. And he kind of turns around and asks a couple of questions of the mound guard nearby, and they turn and kind of gesture towards yourselves. The Duke takes a couple of steps forward, kind of a little bit wobbly on his feet, and says, I'm indebted to you. To whom do I owe my life?
Steo will probably kind of nudge Arendar in the side.
I will step forward. I will bow deeply. And I will say, my lord, we are... Well, I am Arendar. This is Steo of Thistlehold.
Dear Prios, Father Anton.
Yes.
Anton has only just stopped paying attention to Elindra, and Duke Inadar says, "Oh, you are Anton's the heroes of the sinkhole."
Yes.
This is unexpected.
We, yes. We did not expect to find you in a place like this either.
Yes.
Are you
That is not surprising.
all right, my lord?
My pride is the most wounded part of me, and certainly less so than your companions there. Father Anton, you are bleeding also. We must return to the mound, to the palace. He calls out for some horses to be brought, especially for. And you know what? Given how little you've been healed, Alindra, he's going to call for a. My brain has lost the word. When you put someone on like
A litter?
a
Stretcher.
litter, a litter is the right word. Yeah, and it could be drawn behind a calm horse. You know what I mean? Hopefully it's calm. Otherwise, you'll be lying there with the horse kicking the back of you. Well, maybe we'll roll for it. Roll 3 20s in a row, and I'll have you kicked to death by a horse on the way.
Just for funsies.
Yeah.
Incidentally, while Alindra's been lying on the floor, I have rolled against her recovery skill. So she's still clearly not in a good way, but she's looking better than you might expect for somebody that's taken such a beating so recently.
Cool. How many points did you recover just from my own?
4. So I'm at 5 toughness in total now.
Basically healed up. Yeah.
It's fine.
Regardless, Duke Inadar kind of calls for all this and kind of busy. He's talking to the other guards now while things are kind of brought together to take you through the streets. More guards are arriving, like guards and a couple of soldiers as well have arrived in the ruins, and the bodies of the members of the Whip of Prios are being bundled up in like kind of in their own clothing to a certain degree, but also like, you know, wrapped in kind of like blankets and other things that people are bringing, so that when they're moved, presumably people will not see who's been killed, which seems prudent. You're not going to mistake that large sun mask for another kind of person, really. While this is happening, are we engaging in anything, or are we kind of like going along with the flow?
Askar is just staying close to Alindra, making sure that she's being well looked after.
Yeah, I think Alindra is gonna take folks up on the offer of the litter and just take it as an opportunity just to lie down for a bit.
Yeah, that seems prudent.
Steo is going to kind of sort of bundle Antom onto the litter and go, "You are in no shape to be walking that distance. Sit on the back there."
He says, "Well, I'll sit on a horse, Sergeant, but I rather think the litter only has room for Alindra."
God, no one ever listens to Steo.
I mean, it does. They would have to cuddle up, and I don't see that happening. That's not the.
That's not the ship we're going for.
That's not the ship we're going for on this.
Antom's not Alindra's type.
No. So everyone gathers together. The bodies are kind of like carried off somewhere, and Duke Inadar proceeds through the streets alongside the guards, the soldiers, yourselves. A horse has been brought basically for everyone, apart from the few of the guards who are like walking alongside the horses to kind of act as protection to the Duke. As you move through the streets of Barbarian Time, you do notice that like a lot of people seem quite confused to see the Duke. Obviously, like news of the speech being cancelled had spread, and you see the Duke kind of like holding up his arm, waving to people, shouting that all is well. He is fine. The speech will go ahead either later tonight or tomorrow. There is nothing to fear, etc., etc. And people seem to respond pretty well to this. A lot of people kind of cheer for him and shout his name. And you know what? No, I don't think you need a vigilant roll. Notably, more than a few of them. I mean, you're in Barbarian Town, but a lot of people who are seem to be celebrating seeing him are not Ambrian, which is just quite notable. You proceed through the main gates to Ravenna and then through the streets where people kind of part. It's already quite packed, but people part. There is more kind of like cheering, more of Inadar, like just not really speaking to the crowds because he's proceeding onwards, but kind of shouting well wishes and greetings to people. And then you are waved through the gateway to the mound, where all of you everyone gets off their horses and heads into, the little kind of guardhouse building next to it where the adjutant met you there, basically. And it basically shown through to the exact same room. There is more food and drink provided. And moments after you have kind of sat yourselves down, Adjutant Balalia strides into the room, stands in front of the Duke with her hands on her hips and says, "That was not your brightest idea, my Duke." And Inadar goes, Yes. I am battered and bruised, Balalia. Leave your remonstrations for later, please. We have matters to deal with." He kind of sits over in a corner. "I am extremely grateful for your intervention on my behalf. I really do not know what would have happened precisely, but nothing good if they had found me and been able to remove me from the city. With that said, my friends and Father Anton, who I already have had some very positive dealings with, what is your interest in this matter?"
Were you informed before your sojourn of the visitor who will be attending?
I don't know what that means.
You're on mute, I think.
I shoot
Disable.
Theo a look.
I am not on mute. I don't know what the visitor who will be attending means.
I was referring to Disable.
Oh, okay. I receive many visitors. You may have to be more specific. I am not at my best.
Kind of acknowledging Aaron's look, I'll go, "We're not exactly at liberty, but we came here guarding a person of import who will be wanting to have a chat with you later, I assume."
Ah. He shares a glance with Balalia. That all makes sense. It all makes sense. Very well. And you see kind of like his shoulders slump a little. Well, I hope that we can have this conversation not in confidence. I know the one you guard commands a great deal of loyalty for very good reason. I will try and be circumspect. I trust the news of Father Umbardo's passing has...
Steele will nod solemnly.
And that is what you have been doing, then, I venture. Well, then I am doubly lucky.
And,
no, carry on.
And we were, having made some inroads in that investigation, were commissioned by Commander Berlioz to try to find you, which is how we came to be in those ruins.
I would mention it definitely wasn't Commander Berlioz who...
Was it not?
Commissioned by the adjutant.
By the adjutant, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We
My bad.
I just thought you dobbed Berlioz in for sending you around behind the Duke's back there.
That's how I remembered it being, but that's my mistake.
That's fine. You have to understand. Armanda was a loyalist fanatic. Her death was necessary to pave the way for the life giver, the true Prios. Leandro, he is a reformist, but he was not involved in the death. He was arrested to protect him from the atmosphere that had started to spread through the city toward the Sun Church. The Black Cloaks, the Whip of Prios, they have suspicions that I oppose the Curia and its interpretation of Prios' laws. They have taken Leandro. I took him to the meeting with me like a fool. They have these suspicions of me opposing the Curia. If they manage to break Leandro, they will know it. And other things that could make our situation very difficult. However, I have my own suspicions. The whip here is led by someone called Lysadra. I met her first this morning and then this afternoon in the unfortunate incident by the riverside. I do not believe her deeds are fully sanctioned by the Curia. That would harm their relationship with the Queen. Therefore, I believe there is a chance to stop the course of events before they go further. Normally, I would rely on my guards, my soldiers, but you have a reputation for getting things done. We must track down Sister Lysadra and Leandro, who is now a prisoner. What you do with Lysadra is largely up to you. The important thing is that the High Priest is returned safely and that any written confessions or other documents are destroyed. I have considerable resources at my disposal and I will place them with you. But I genuinely believe that my personal welfare, that of the reformist movement, and that of the realm depend on Leandro's safe return and the Curia's agents being denied the opportunity to publicly accuse me of being a heretic.
Regardless of who is right and who is wrong in this situation, this is effectively a war on the church that you're asking us to get involved in.
Not a war on the church.
A war
An
on the
action.
orthodox factions within the church.
Not a war. An action against individuals who have overstepped their bounds, causing the deaths of innocents in my city.
Again, I'm not casting judgment on the rights and the wrongs here. I'm sympathetic to your position. I'm merely considering what the wider reaction could be to this.
I appreciate that I am in a position of wealth and power that keeps me shielded from some of these decisions. But, Sir Knight, you yourself are in the service of Desaber the Lightbringer. With the best will in the world, you will have to make a choice. Or step away entirely.
We do seem to find ourselves in the middle of these powder kegs with alarming regularity, sir.
I think, Alindra, I think this isn't starting a war. I think this is trying to stop it before they do.
Spoken like a general in every war that has ever been fought.
Anton kind of like stands up and says, I don't really understand why we're arguing the point on this. Leandro is innocent. We will be likely rewarded handsomely for rescuing him. Is this not what we do?
I agree. We've seen enough of these people to know what they're like. We know they have bad intentions.
Elindra, you saw them cut down the worshippers at the chapel. They are not servants of Prios.
No. I'm just merely pointing out that they have friends and funds and resources and boundless rage and an appetite for vengeance, and we are poking this hornet's nest. I'm not saying that I'm not going to help you do it, but I think we should be clear that this is what we're doing here.
Duke Inadar leans forward and says, Sir Elindra, all those things you mentioned, I also have.
I understand.
I think we've kind of taken the job, and I think it is our third task of the day that is quite time dependent.
Indeed. I do not know how you can find Lysadra and Leandro, but, well, a basic approach may work or help at least. She must have left the Blue Moon Trading House with Leandro. And I have what I think are the finest bloodhounds in all of Ambria. If I grant them with you with a handler,
it's a lead.
We were following tracks from there for a while, but I mean, it will be difficult. But with hounds, I suppose it's possible. Do you have an idea of places they might head to?
she arrived in the city but this morning. I have no idea.
She can't have gone far. The hounds won't help if she's gone by boat, but we still need to make a start. We'll need at least a set of fresh clothes so we're not traipsing through the city trailing blood.
Anything you wish.
And we will need a good 10 minutes with the best theurgs you can muster. We are broken and in need of medical attention.
I understand. My, Father Umbardo serviced me as a personal advisor and priest, but I will send for a novice.
And when all this is done, we would like another chat with you, because this is not 20 thalers worth of work.
I completely agree. How about I guarantee you general sponsorship in any matter in which you wish, 40 thalers each, and more to potentially be discussed on your return.
That will get me to stand up again today, my friends.
Yeah. We could use horses as well, maybe.
Done. He turns to Bellalia and she nods and kind of walks out at speed, presumably to arrange all this. It feels like Elindra wants to have a conversation with everyone about ignoring the call to adventure.
I think Elindra had that conversation. Like, you know, I think it took her a moment to come to terms with it, but like we're already in the middle of this thing. I think, you know.
I mean, if we get a moment alone, I think a quick chat would be worthwhile.
Yeah.
Go for it. The stuff has to be gathered for you, so go for it.
The whip of Prios is coming for the Duke anyway, aren't they? And if
I'd
they come
say
for the
so.
Duke, there is every chance they'll also come for the Lightbringer.
But no one of the three arms of the church is in a strong position. One of them is absent altogether.
Well, except for today. There was me thinking there were no Templars left.
To be fair, the Black Templar you fought was only wearing the insignia of the Whip of Prios and not the kind of the Templars.
Sure.
So presumably,
part of the, like, adhered to the training, but not part of the order, kind of thing.
Yeah. So, probably was like Fenring. Essentially, when the Templars left, had a choice to make and chose to stay, and is therefore no longer a Templar or a Sun Knight, but has the training and
it's part of the Whip of
whip.
Chaos.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I'm going to request is a writ for as close as we can get to an indeterminately terminating adventuring license for Davokar. Because right now, and I know I've said this before, that forest is looking like the only safe place in this kingdom.
I think that feels like something that we can negotiate as payment in addition to Thala. That costs the Duke nothing.
I think he kind of already agreed to it with our general sponsorship. I mean, he knows what we are, that we're more or less fortune hunters, and part of that's going to Davokar.
It's important to remember, because no, I don't know if we've remembered or I've even gone through with it in detail. Duke Inadar is the Queen's nephew. He is probably the second most senior member of House Kohinoor.
Yeah.
If you're sponsored by House Kohinoor, you don't pay for licenses.
Yeah, he's the second most powerful person that we've ever met, and that's only because we've met the Queen.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah.
Now, does anyone want to hazard a guess into what the hell the Saber's doing here?
I wouldn't dare.
I think that might be the right answer.
I think it's possible that what we know of DeSaber's purpose here is her purpose here, that she received something from Mambardo. I don't think she knew he was dead. I feel like that would have...
Well, presumably he wasn't when we set off on this journey.
Yeah. I mean, there may be, she may know more about what his purpose was and what his plans were, but I think we probably did genuinely come here on his request to help in some way.
I think this situation has been unfolding for long enough for DeSaber to have got wind of it and realized that this was a place that it was going to be important for her to be.
Mm.
And
I do feel that given her behavior towards certain other splinter groups in the church in the past, I think this might be the right place for her, but I am speculating. I don't think you know any better.
She's a peacemaker and a politician, and there are many things that she wouldn't say out loud, but I think all of us in this room have a feeling which way she's likely to move on the subject of reformation of the progressive side of the church.
I do agree, but I do think perhaps we shouldn't, as private as this room is, perhaps we shouldn't be speaking for her.
That's true enough. We also don't know how much trouble we're in with her, given the fact that one of our instructions was to avoid blood loss, and we've done about the opposite.
And another of our instructions was not to tell the Duke she's here.
We didn't.
We didn't, technically. It was an open secret by the time we crossed the threshold. About 4 different people told us that we were working for her.
The Duke's clearly not a fool. It won't have taken him that many guesses to
I mean, especially with Father Anton literally here.
Yeah.
Who he solely knows as Desaber's messenger.
Yeah. This was not a great mystery for him to solve.
Speaking of mysteries, I wonder if we could. It may be helpful if we're accompanied by someone more familiar with Ravinia, and perhaps someone with more skill of unraveling, well, mysteries than we are. We tend to sort of brute force our way through them, but
Do you have a name in mind?
Captain Yalna?
They're not gonna like it.
Which they?
The entire concept of the guards and the Alna.
Surely they do what the Duke tells them to do.
That's one of the things I also wanted to mention to the Duke. He needs to be kinder to those guards. There's some good people in that corps, and they were not included in this. They were not given as much information as they should have been. This could have been avoided if he'd have been better with them.
So resolving the local politics is an admirable instinct, but I was just merely talking about if we want one of those people with us, we can just ask the Duke.
I think that the Duke might be opposed to it, just because while he was he flattered us in terms of saying why he chose us, that we get things done, but equally we are going to fight people in the church, and he probably doesn't want one of his own guard captains doing that just in case it goes badly, whereas I feel like we're much more
expendable.
Yeah.
Going straight back to what you were saying earlier, Alindra, the easiest part to break in this whole situation, even after all the ash is settled, is we six.
Why do we always walk into wars?
At least the money's good, Alindra. You're getting paid. You were consistently complaining about not getting paid.
I thought we were getting paid just for finding him, but apparently not.
You can get twice as much if you also solve all of his problems. Look, the writ of a Colonor looks to Arendar, probably worth quite a bit more than 40 Valor.
We're doing this thing, but just I wanted it to be known that I have reservations, because this is going to get really ugly.
Well, Alindra, I have reservations at a very comfortable campfire in the east of Davokar, and you're welcome to join me.
In the east of Davokar?
West. I keep getting them mixed up. It's because of the map in this region has the cardinals all the weird way around. It's screwed with my overall map view of.
We're in East Ambria, so you're talking about the other end of Ambria and then up.
Yeah, I'm talking.
You're talking about the lake, right? Yeah.
Talking about our retirement village.
I'd still like to register that the inhabitants of that village do not know it's your retirement village.
Yeah, but they seem nice.
But that seems a very Ambrian. Oh, they're really nice. I'm sure they'd be fine if we lived here with them. And maybe make it a bit more Ambria-y, you know? So a number of minutes pass further than the conversation, and then the adjutant kind of returns to the room with a couple of guards and says, if you'd follow me, all your requests are ready for you. She takes you through the guardhouse out towards the gate. The gates are still closed, but next to it are a number of benches have been placed, and there is a Theurg you haven't seen before. She is stood by there, ready to kind of attempt to help with your healing a little bit. There's also a pack of several packs of rather raucous bloodhounds that have kind of a couple of junior individuals holding their leashes, and then a bit more of a grizzled houndmaster stood nearby. She's kind of like looking over at you a little skeptically, but Adjutant Balalia steps forward to each of you and says, "For finding the Duke, obviously the additional fee to be fully negotiated with the Duke on the return of Leandro and the destruction of any materials." She passes each of you 20 thaler in a small leather bag.
Thank you.
Including Revelia, but not including Farron.
God damn it.
The pro-human bias is shocking.
Job's off.
She's not even going to present $20 worth of bacon or something.
No.
Shocking. It's like, can Farron at least get some healing, even though
Yes.
Theo is probably more of a human?
Absolutely.
Centric.
I am going to calculate this. Give
What
me
if
1
Steve-
second.
Just to make it a bit more sensible. Or maybe the Bloodhound guy would know how to do it.
I really thought you could say Bloodhound Gang.
Maybe the Bloodhound gang would know.
Maybe
about
the
that.
Bloodhound Gang know how to do it. Well, like on the Discovery Channel would be how.
There we
Don't
go.
do that
I
to
was
my
waiting
cat.
for it.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I didn't think that through.
No.
No. I'm looking for. Isn't it called Lay on Hands?
Yeah.
The Theo Keeling thing. I'm looking for it. Is it an advanced player guide one? That would seem surprising for like the main
Lay
healing
on
thing.
hands.
I think it's a
I
normal.
have it here on Antom's
normal one.
sheet if you want it.
Yeah, I'm just looking for the.
It's at the bottom of page 135.
Am I being dense?
It's split over 2 pages, so it's hard to see.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, so that would be 4, but then I'm going to say they're also a Master Theurg. So that would add +2. Okay, everyone who wants any healing from the Theurg can receive 6 toughness. And that includes Ferrin. Although the Theurg will look a little uncertain and like she's about to be mauled any moment as she does it. As the Theurg goes around you and kind of mutters prayers of Prios, lays her hands on you, and you feel a warmth kind of rush through you. Definitely a kind of like, probably all of you at this point have had Anton use this on you. This is definitely a more powerful. It's like stepping into a hot bath or a very, very warm sauna. Kind of like the heat just rushes through you from her hands. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Father.
Did I accidentally remove Stephen from the stream again?
No, Stephen did.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was
Well,
that.
then
I didn't even know you could.
I went to go and look up Lay on Hands in a tab, not realizing that it was the tab that I'm in.
Fair enough.
Yes.
There we go. All right. Yeah, and you've been given the money. The Houndmaster she's kind of like looking over at you, ready to go when you are. Does anyone else have anything they want to do last minute on this preparation?
Cosmetic as it is, I did request kind of a fresh set of kind of overclothes, so we're not.
You did, and there are a number of like available things nearby to, like obviously for you, it's going to be like, what does Theo wear over his plate? Anything?
Nothing actually. This is probably the first time he will have worn a cloak since winter.
Okay, so yeah, there's a cloak laid out. It's quite warm for that, but like, I'm sure you have bigger things. But yeah, like replacement boots and like a new tabard for Alindra and stuff like that are laid out. They'll only have one kind of tabard, so it's a tabard with the arms of House Kohinoor on it. Duke Inadar's variety of that. You could always wear it inside out, i.e. the other way up.
I think anybody that we find that is going to have a problem with House Cohenor is also going to be under no illusion about who we are and why we're there. So I don't. I think it's fine. I think a ninja would just wear it.
Yeah, fair enough. And it would certainly reduce the amount of people wanting to get in your way. So there we go. Okay, the gates are cracked open. The Houndmaster, she kind of looks over at you, tries to pick out which of you is in charge, and is probably going to go with Steo, because he's got more of a guardsman's bearing and he's the oldest. And is going to go down by the river, the Blue Moon, right?
That's where we're starting.
Okay, keep up. She like indicates to the her two apprentices, and they kind of bound out. The bloodhounds they're not running, but they're very enthusiastic and obviously leading them out in the rough direction of the riverfront. You have been given a horse each as well.
I think I'll definitely be on the horse.
Yeah.
Is Ferren in any way perturbed by the bloodhounds?
No.
Good.
No. Ferren is very used to like dogs and like domesticated animals, and doesn't seem to see them as a threat in any way. Okay. You move through the streets, through to the riverside, into the Blue Moon kind of trading house or warehouse. Warehouse is more accurate, really, by the old kind of abandoned little dock. There are soldiers still here. You recognize a couple of them as soldiers who were here with you earlier. And they're just kind of standing guard and kind of like look over with a little bit of surprise as you arrive. The Houndmaster kind of greets them and says, "Orders of the Duke." They go, he's fine. We need to get a scent. Get away. I don't care. Over there. I don't want the hounds to smell you. You don't want them to either." And the soldiers kind of go and kind of like jog over a little bit away. Do any of you actually know how to track? Or am I going to be doing this whole thing?
I think everyone in the group except Ascarai takes one step backwards.
As I say, I mean, I can track, but I'm not used to doing it with dogs.
It's the same as doing it without dogs, only there are dogs. Come here.
Okay.
She starts kind of like, and you're familiar with this, she starts basically a kind of like tracking pattern. So she's kind of moving around the warehouse, and you walk around like a good 2 or 3 times. And the dogs kind of like stray off a little bit and start sniffing in various directions as you're going, like quite a lot. And then she says, "Okay, now we get to find out if this is easy or difficult." And she withdraws from kind of like the like tight leather jacket that she's wearing, a bundle that looks to you like a Theurg's robe. Kneels down by the bloodhounds, proffers it to them. They go crazy over it, like a couple of them like biting and drooling over it. And then she withdraws it, gives a whistle, and as one, they bolt in one direction.
I guess it's that way.
You're catching on. All right. Let's you and me go in front of them, and we'll look for tracks so we know what we're looking for.
Okay.
Okay. Can you give me a vigilant roll, please, Ascarai? And you can absolutely use your specialist re-rolling and stuff on that.
Nice. Well, I don't think I re-roll if I make it anyway, but I rolled a 6.
Mm-hmm. You find the tracks fairly easily. The bloodhounds have basically led you exactly in the right direction of them. Just a bit further north from the Blue Moon, there is like a muddier patch of like the path where water is like maybe spilled out from the river, or maybe there was a burst of rain at some point over the last few days and it's gathered in a pool. Either way, it's much better than the mostly dry area nearby the warehouse for tracks. Like, it was a minor miracle you found the tracks of Inadar fleeing in the first place. However, these are a lot more clear. The bloodhounds are definitely following them, and it looks to you like a donkey or a pony and someone walking alongside it.
Okay, so just like 2-3 people max, depending on how many people are on this donkey. Okay, a small group. It's good for us.
It looks that way. All right. I'm going to let them take the scent. Oh, your companion's coming with us, I assume.
Yeah, we'll need them.
All right, I'd shout for them then.
That's great. Waves them over. Or
She seems very used to giving orders.
okay.
We'll follow.
I will also relay the information. Like, looks like there's just a person, and maybe they had Leandro on a donkey or something. It's not. Doesn't look like a big group, but perhaps they're going to meet more.
Depends where they're taken. I mean, we saw the Whip of Prios come into town, didn't we? There were not that many of them.
No, there weren't. No.
And we've presumably killed a few now.
Yeah, I mean, like, realistically, you can't remember exactly how many you saw, and they did have a carriage, so it was difficult to tell how many were in there. But it's definitely not outside the realm of possibility that you've killed everyone but the sister Lysadra, given the amount of people you saw. You saw like 2 or 3 people walking alongside the carriage. You saw the Sun Priest and the Templar riding on horses, and there could have been a couple more black cloaks inside, and that would have been it.
Yeah, it was a group, not an army. So
correct. Yeah. Okay. You walk for a fair while, kind of alongside the river, and then up on a path, like a drier path, that seems to be kind of skirting around the north of Barbarian Town. You can kind of look over and see the town, like the buildings and the ruins of it as you move around. In fact, before too long, you can tell that you're passing about maybe 40 feet away from the burned remnants of the witch's house, which, if you remember, was on the very edge of Barbarian Town. Askarai, why don't you give me another vigilant roll to... the Bloodhounds may be able to follow regardless, but like that you are still following the tracks. And again, obviously, you get to...
That's a 2.
Yeah, they're very obvious. Not many people seem to come this way. So they don't seem to have been really disturbed very much, which is good. The hounds are still baying and kind of following. Occasionally, one even occasionally kind of like roughly breaks off the leash that one of the apprentices is desperately holding on to, and they run a little bit way ahead and then kind of like turn impatiently and see that the other bloodhounds aren't following them, so they kind of come back to the pack, and the apprentice kind of desperately tries to get them under control again. The Houndmaster seems... I mean, she is also very good at this. You are literally like walking alongside each other, kind of like following the tracks as you go. The path leads all around the top of Barbarian Town and off, basically starts splitting off from Ravenna, and looks like it's like heading off to the east onto a kind of... I mean, it's a road less than a pathway that seems to maybe be going to settlements or farms further east. You trudge along this for maybe about 10 minutes, 15 minutes before you reach like a large crossroads that has sort of a number of signs planted pointing different ways that mention other like smaller settlements or estates. Askarai, again, the Bloodhounds don't seem to be struggling too much, but you give me a roll anyway to see if you can keep on following the tracks.
Made on the second try with a 6.
Okay. It looks like the tracks are going off the smallest path that leads off this crossroads. It's very modest in size. And as soon as you see that it's heading along here, the Houndmaster kind of like wrinkles her brow and goes,
What's down here?
Nothing but an old farm. An old farm that I know no one lives in at the moment. because it was a minor landowner. He died last year.
Okay. Do you know what our purpose is here? Do you know who we're looking for?
I have a rough idea, and I also think I should probably keep the hounds here while you proceed ahead.
Yeah. Maybe best. If we're not back soon, then
It'll
send-
take you 10 or 15 minutes to walk there. How about I wait for an hour, and if you don't return, I'll send word back.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right. You're not a bad tracker.
It's always good to learn a few more tricks.
Get a dog. She kind of herds the bloodhounds over to further away from the path and kind of like calms them and feeds them. So they're kind of baying and barking less.
I mean, that's where we'll relay this to the group. They've gone down this path. There's nothing there but an abandoned farmhouse. Sounds like a pretty good place if you wanted to either lay low or torture a guy.
So we are about to go lay siege to a farm.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Not for the first time.
How are we going to start proceeding down this path?
Perambulation?
Sure, I just meant in what, are we
In what manner?
are we actively trying to be sneaky at this point, or are we just kind of like, are we running? Are we, what is our priority here?
They
What's
said
the
it was 10
landscape
to
here?
15
It sounds-
minutes. Was that right?
Sorry? Said it's about a 10 or 15-minute walk, but obviously that'll be quicker on the horseback if you move faster than a walk.
What's the landscape here? Are we light forest or is it proper
No,
wide open farmland?
You can see some various copses of trees around, but it's all very kind of farmland like. Albeit farmland in Ambria is not as intensively cultivated as farmland you're used to in the modern world, so it's like spaced out farmland, right? There's like the actual biosphere or like the biome you're in is like they're like plains. So there's like grassy plains around, and you can see from where you are various farms like dotted around with fields growing kind of crops and having livestock. None of them are terribly close to you. The path leading away from you has kind of like a field on one side and some like a big grassy plain area on the other, and you can see like a copse of trees further ahead. So it's quite open.
I think, my friends, we've been hired not to do sneaky shit for a change. I think we take the opportunity.
Fast and shock and awe.
angry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Askrai, unless you can see some way to sneak up on this place, because it looks bloody awful to me.
No, I think we should move fast. Maybe if we get closer, try and have some element of surprise, but I think for now we got to move quickly. What is our plan? Are we trying to talk to this person? Are we not trying to talk to this person?
Let's see what their disposition is. I, for one, would be interested to hear their side of the situation, because we haven't yet.
We can try, but if we don't manage, I'm not going to be terribly upset. I do not have high expectations of getting much sense out of them. I think it's going to be foaming orthodoxy, murderous rage.
I'm concerned that they also effectively have a hostage.
Well, that's the one thing that we have to do, right? Is get him out alive.
Or at
They don't
least
tend to be the
burn
most
all evidence of his heresy.
Perhaps when we get closer, Askarai, depending on the lay of the land, we'll maybe have you try to peel off from the rest of the group. You are probably the sneakiest among us and can perhaps go and find a place to get a clear shot from behind or from the side when when we're distracted them from the front.
Okay.
Just don't let it go like last time did.
I'm sorry about that. I'll try to do better.
I'm also sorry about that.
So you are proceeding down this sort of country path, at pace, kind of maybe the horses as a canter, Farron running alongside. And it probably doesn't take very long. I'd imagine if it's a 10 or 15-minute walk, it's going to be about a 5-minute ride at this pace. Before ahead of you on the trail, you can see a further, almost like a crescent-shaped copse of trees, and you can see a pretty modest-sized farmhouse sat there. It has like an old barn to one side, although that seems to have mostly collapsed at this stage. You can't see any livestock. You can't see any kind of like well-growing crop fields nearby. In fact, you can see a field over to one side that looks like it used to have crops growing, and now they've been like massively overtaken by weeds and by sort of a general lack of attention. Yeah, but it's still at quite a distance ahead of you. Are you changing your approach, or are you just still getting closer with a canter?
I mean, well, it sounds like we've got limited opportunities to be hidden, but it also sounds like there are limited opportunities for anybody that sees us coming to like escape and also not be seen, right? Like,
yeah, you definitely expect so, unless they're already in the trees behind the farmhouse.
Yeah.
You
and
you
it's
can't
like,
see how they.
What time of day are we at now? Is it
Late afternoon?
later? Okay, so I mean, it's bright, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we just want to kind of get there at a fair old pace, and then, you know, maybe make some decisions, as I say, split up when we get to the farmhouse and try and find some different entrances or something. But
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. You proceed closer, and you're probably within, maybe 100 meters or so of the farmhouse when a figure emerges from the front of it. She is fairly short, fairly slight, and wearing a very sort of ascetic Theurg's robe, of which you've seen a number of probably Twilight Friars or even just members of the Curia wear before. Very simple, very plain. She stands in the doorway of the farmhouse watching you approach, then takes a step out and kind of like to the side of the doorway is like a large tub, which she puts her hands in and seems to kind of rinse them thoroughly. It registers to you as you take a few steps closer that she is washing blood off her hands. She turns back towards you and kind of quite solemnly and gently raises a hand in greeting, and then lowers it and walks back inside the farmhouse.
This isn't going to be pretty.
nope. I guess you see that's all coming now. Not much point in flanking or subterfuge.
Maybe a couple of us around the back is still not the worst idea.
Okay. Do you want to take somebody with you?
Who wants to come? Oh, I can go, man.
So sounds like Ascarai is going around the back on his own.
I feel like Ascarai is most likely to be sneaky without another person with him.
I mean, it's fine. If no one else wants to go, he can go back around the back on his own.
Oscar
Okay.
will try and sneak to get round the back. Like aware that she's aware of us in general, but hopefully will not be aware that one of us is there.
How about the other 4 of you, or 5 of you, including Revelia as well, Anton and Revelia? Is anyone remaining outside, or are we all proceeding inside? And what preparations are we making before we do so?
Elindra's going to draw her sword and activate Revenant Strike.
Okay.
because she doesn't think this is going to be something that gets resolved by talking.
Anyone
If
else?
no
with
one
anything?
else is, if no one else is taking any actions, I think Steo's going to be first in, unless someone wants to barge ahead.
Okay.
Should Antom do a thing? A shield?
Blessed shield. Sure.
Yeah, could do.
Okay.
I have the sheet
Um,
here. Will I roll that?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So it is resolute.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a fail.
Well then, Steo. So Askarai, you're kind of edging around the back of the farmhouse, right?
Yeah.
Are you trying to look for another entrance or windows and things like that?
Yeah, exactly. Like a window to just see if I can see what's going on, a
Sure.
door to see if I can potentially get in, anything.
There are definitely windows, although it being so bright outside, it's quite difficult to kind of see into them. But there's definitely kind of you can see various ways you could gain access. Steo, you said you were the first to step through. Shall I describe the scene to you?
Yes, please.
Okay. The first thing that occurs to you as you start stepping in is a chopping noise of a blade hitting wood. And as you emerge through and kind of blink slightly to kind of regain your sight from the brightness outside, you see a number of things. First, you see that it's a fairly large kind of farmhouse living space. It still has a lot of the kind of furniture you might expect for that. Some of it has been shoved over to the side of the room. Other bits of it have kind of gone a bit into disrepair. But there's a couple of chairs. There's a table. There's like an area for kind of like set aside as a kitchen. There's like a stove in place. At the table, there is a chair right by it, and in the chair is a kind of a middle-aged man with grayish, like hair shot through with grey. He is wearing Theurg's robes. He has his hands tied behind his back. His face looks bruised but not thoroughly battered. And his head is sort of tipped back and he seems to be unconscious. A few seconds of observation will reveal he is breathing. Sister Lysadra is stood by kind of the kitchen area where she has a large boiling bowl laid out on the top of the stove, and she is chopping what seems to be a freshly killed chicken.
Well, as far as chopping sounds we were expecting to hear today, this is the least terrible one.
I am a servant of Prios, not a brute. My tools are more subtle. Come in. There was going to be more stew than I required anyway. Unless one of you would like to cut me down from behind while I am preparing food.
Well, I'll be entirely honest, a number of us want to, but we all agreed that we'd much rather hear the full story, because we haven't yet.
I don't blame you. It is an intriguing one, full of betrayal, heresy, murder, judgment. Is the changeling going to join us?
Changeling is more than capable of feeding themselves.
Of course, I had hoped to welcome Aldoro and Amelia, but I suppose I'll have to celebrate with you instead. She kind of looks up from her work, smiling at you. Her eyes are stone cold. The dark blight which the Duke of New Barator carries in his bones has been exposed. Soon Ravenna will burn.
You found some evidence of this accused heresy?
When the Curia and the Twilight Friars' leadership do not have the backbone to stand up for the light against the worldly authorities, one must find other ways to vanquish the darkness. Leandro gave me everything I needed.
I imagine he'll never be the same again.
I hope not. He should be judged for his participation in this.
And where do you go now? Who do you report to after this?
I have no plans to report to anyone. I am a servant of Prios, even if those I typically follow the orders of do not see the way forward. But others do. The Church of Dead Prios may be fallen and degenerate, but its knights still regard the hordes of the Eternal Night as a justifiable enemy.
So, you are successful in the spirit of your quest, and your job is finished.
Yes.
Would you accompany us back to Ravenna?
I do not feel I particularly should. I imagine you will want to return there soon, though.
There is something else planned then, I guess.
It is, I suppose, what other people would call appealing. That you feel you are taking this information from me. I will gladly offer it. We came here looking for the evidence of the heresy we already knew existed. We found it. We left. I had already gained allies. Deputy Commander Ivano Viara leads the second largest of the dead Prios sons. He was very interested to learn of the heresy in Ravenna. Eradicating that black disease that has been allowed to fester and spread in the city was an opportunity he couldn't deny, even with his own heretical thoughts that Prios has fallen. I do not know their exact number. Sir Templar, how many knights make up a son? The answer, Alindra, is anywhere between 50 and 100.
50 to 100. You know this.
I do. And you know Ivano Viara. You do, Ilindra. He is the deputy commander. He is one of the two deputy commanders of the Templars, both of which are the children of Commander Viara. You met Commander Viara's other child on the plateau at Carvosti.
Yep.
Ivano Viara is notable even among the Templars before they became the Church of Dead Prios. He has a reputation for complete, uncompromising violence in the face of heresy. I do not know where they will first strike, but they are now almost certainly preparing their assault on Ravenna. I imagine the Duke and the Fortress will be their primary targets, but they will no doubt cause great damage even on their way to the gates. Something which I do not regret. All the people of Ravenna are guilty, culpable of fostering this disease within their heart.
Those maniacs you unleashed will burn that city to the ground.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Are you sure here is where you want to be? Perhaps you would rather flee. But if you have intentions of, in any way, saving Ravenna, I feel like time is running out already. Take the priest. I'm done with him.
And Tom, Alindra, this isn't guards work. Steele's going to go and kind of look over the priest and medicus him, and specifically not look at what else is happening in the room right now.
Anton kind of looks over at Alindra, and he definitely has a torn look on his face. But he says lowly, I will not harm someone who is not resisting.
Slaying this toad gives us nothing. You get to live. Congratulations.
Praise be to Prios. His glory and his light.
Let's just hope he has it in him to forgive you.
I am not the one in need of forgiveness. Have a pleasant journey.
Shame we couldn't stay to the end of the stew. How's the priest looking?
He'll definitely live. He doesn't look like he's definitely taken a couple of punches to the face. But like you're not sure how recent they were. In fact, give me a cunning roll, Chris. Yeah, let's call it -2.
I do have medicus.
That's why I'm letting you make the roll.
Great. I rolled a 13. I think that's a fail.
Okay.
It is.
Never mind. But yeah, they don't look like particularly fresh welts. That's all I'm saying. Ascarai, do you think you actually heard any of that, or were you kind of like keeping watch outside?
I think Ascar is probably looking through the window, wants to have an idea of what is going on, and is trying to hear as much as he can. I think Ascarai very much disagrees with our current course of action and is going to come into the room. Maybe he'll go back round to the front if it's not a huge building and just come through the front door.
Looking like he wants to shoot someone.
Yeah, looking like.
Elindra, upon noticing this, is going to do nothing to dissuade him from that course of action if that's what he wants to do.
Steele is going to
go for it, Steele. Sorry.
Steele's going to kind of take the priest out and kind of be leaving as Ascarai's entering, so he's not in the vicinity.
Anton kind of will definitely also notice you doing it. You kind of walking towards the door with like an intention, and will reach out and put a hand on your arm and say, "We gain nothing from this, and do not make me part of this, Ascarai."
Are we no longer concerned about the information this person has and will pass on to other people?
It sounds like that is exactly what she has already done.
Hopefully we can deal with the ones who already have it. And I mean, this person is a danger to the many, many people.
If you want to restrain her and take her to the Duke, we could do that.
I also feel like that is what we have been. That is our literal task here. Is it not?
It isn't. I mean, by the strict orders of the Duke, the return of Leandro and the destruction of any documents, none of which there weren't any documents in there, was what he expressed. And Anton seems very unhappy at the notion, and just kind of says, "If we attempt to restrain her, she will resist to death." Clearly.
I think we have a more pressing need for your arrows, Ascarai.
I cannot stop you but I desperately wish you not to make me a part of this.
I don't need to kill this person unilaterally, but I feel that what is best for our goal, the service to the Duke, to Ambria, is that this person is not allowed to go free. In a not that it's a close call here. I feel like this person being a free agent in Ambria is terrible.
She can't do any more damage than she has already done by telling the deputy commander.
I don't think that is true. There are more people that she could tell, and even beyond that, I mean, her purpose is one of destroying cities and populations far beyond the life of a single person who has shown us nothing that would suggest their life has value.
And Tom kind of shakes his head and says, I know that she will resist you to death. I do not. In this, we serve Duke Inadar, but more so, I serve Disaber the Lightbringer in Prios. Right now, Ravenna is in danger. I'm going to leave and return as fast as I can.
I'm also stepping outside.
Know that whatever you do, Ascarai, is also my responsibility. For you are my friend and companion. Well, he puts his hand on your arm again and walks over towards the horses.
Yeah, Elindra leaves.
It is true that aside from one very notable thing earlier in Elindra's place in the party, I think the group has never kind of really initiated murderous violence. They've always been kind of defending from it, and I think it is a notable choice to make.
It is, yeah.
To choose to attack this high-ranking member of the Twilight Friars. I'm not saying if it's right or wrong. I'm just I think Anton would definitely not want any part of this and would walk away from this woman, feeling that she has done the damage she can do.
I think Elindra's position is similar, albeit with slightly less emphasis on wanting her alive.
I think part of Elindra's position as well, right, is like you already feel you're in hot water from all this. Why make it hotter?
I think the thing that sways it in the balance of her getting to live is the politics of the situation.
Yeah. Why make yourself more of a target?
Yeah. Here was a member of the Whip of Prios who we didn't have to kill and didn't, which is better than a member of the Whip of Prios we didn't have to kill and chose to anyway. But it's like I think she's more concerned about the chapter of Templars descending on Ravenna.
Okay. Well, Antom's leaving, Elindra's leaving. I can't imagine Arendar is like, yeah, let's kill this lady.
No, Arendar is not leaving because he doesn't want to leave Ascarai, but he will say there is a more pressing place for us to be than here.
Yeah, I agree. I'll say to the Black Cloak, you should thank Prios for the kindness of my companions.
I thank Prios every day. She hasn't turned around during all this and is still making her stew. Are we departing?
Yes. Is the donkey still here?
Yeah, the donkey is still here. Yeah. Absolutely, the donkey is still here and is kind of like tied up outside.
That's where we'll kind of lead it away. Not think it'll make much difference. But
I'm so glad you said that. For a second, I thought you were going to like let out your frustration on the poor donkey.
Oh my God.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, you lead the donkey can't really keep up with the horses if you're planning on cantering or galloping back. But yeah,
that's where we'll just kind of lead it to the point that it's sort of out of sight, and I don't know, carry on. But
sure.
might come back and get it if we all survive.
Sure. Before long, you all return to the crossroads. The Houndmaster, her apprentices, and the Bloodhounds are still there. It has been far less than an hour. She looks up at you expectantly.
I think Steo is galloping past her.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. We need to get back to Ravenia.
Okay, are you all just heading past her as fast as you can, or?
That's what I would like say on the way past. But yeah, like try and impart the information. We've done
might
what
not
we
be able
came
to
here
hear
for.
you, but yeah.
We've done what we came here for. We're
very
leaving,
loud.
and like time is a factor.
Yeah, sure. You hear her like call something after you, and if you glance over your shoulders, you can see that the dogs and the people are kind of like jogging behind you and obviously receding as you go further. I take it with Arendar. Yes,
I was gonna pull up to tell them what's happening.
Okay, fair enough. Then that is what you do. What phrasing do you use?
Ravenia may be under attack.
What?
I believe this may have been some sort of diversion. We need to hurry on ahead. The Duke may be in peril.
All right, then why are you talking to me?
I'll kick off.
Okay.
No, kick off as in just punch her. Don't talk back.
I'll
I was being polite.
I'll demand to see a manager.
Yeah. Karendar, more like.
Welcome to the dark side, Matt. Doesn't
It
it feel good?
doesn't feel any different. I am always magnificent. So you gallop along the roads you took. Are you like, it's a little bit of a long way around? Are you diverting and kind of like going through Barbarian Town, or are you relying on the emptier roads to, ride around faster maybe?
I guess what's going to get us to the Duke the quickest, right?
Well, you don't know. That's why I'm asking.
I'm probably at the back because I paused to talk. But if the roads were empty on our way out, I assume they're empty on our way in.
Sure.
Probably we'll take a more direct.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. You carry on heading sort of round the pathways you went. You gallop past Barbarian Town. You gallop past the Blue Moon Warehouse, in through the gates and onto the mound, where obviously you have to kind of come to a halt. But the guards kind of look at you and like register that you are the people sent out by the Duke. Maybe an hour or so ago, or maybe a bit more than that. They open the gates and you head inside. You can see that like a little way ahead, a sort of a marquee tent has been set up. It has Duke Inadar stood outside it with the adjutant. You can also see Commander Berlio. You can see Captain Ialna. You can see a number of other important-looking individuals from the city. There is someone in kind of maybe the two liturgs from the temple are also there. And you can also see the witch Algaia is stood by Duke Inadar and is speaking quite fervently to him. Duke Inadar looks extremely concerned.
Charging up, I think. Have we been dehorsed? I kind of missed it in the description.
Yeah, I mean, you'll want to get up and not ride over the Duke. So yeah.
So kind of like run right up and like look. Actually, Steele's going to do something he hasn't done in quite some time: salute and stand to
Punch a
attention.
duke.
Punch a goddamn duke.
Yeah.
Salute, stand to attention, and shout, "Sir!"
Yes, I imagine you have brought me the same news.
Steele will visibly relax. 50 to 100 of dead Prioses.
That is a considerable force. Are you sure? He's asking the witch Algaia, who says, yes. And I saw them on the way back. They had probably spoken to the whip of Prios.
They have. They're coming, and they will burn this place to the ground, and that is the mildest of what they will do.
Duke Inadar kind of pauses a moment and seems to kind of like catch his breath. We do not have enough soldiers to hold them. We have maybe 20 soldiers in the city. 40 city guard that can be marshaled. That is nowhere near enough. The walls are not necessarily a boon.
I suggest, with those forces that you have, that a better use of them might be to try and get as many civilians out of here as possible.
Potentially. But there are others we can... There is more in this city than my soldiers and my guard. He glances over towards the Vajvod compound, and a moment later towards the Tower of the Order Magica. Balalia, we need to gather people. Immediately bring in the chapter master, the envoy. The liturgs are already here. Send a representative to the chieftain's axe. And I suppose we must undergo the pain of speaking with Iberio. Perhaps our friends here could help with some of that.
We might also benefit from bringing the Lightbringer inside the city walls.
Yes. Please, if you could undertake some of these tasks, the Lightbringer must come inside, along with anyone working for her. The barbarian, the chieftain's axe I mentioned, there can be found a retired monster slayer known as Athelda. She's the informal leader of the city's fortune hunters. Perhaps she will listen to you more so than me. And Iberio. Yes. Do any of us remember who Iberio is?
Is he the delightful merchant gentleman?
He has trained soldiers.
From the trading house?
That's right.
Fantastic.
You have met him?
Yes.
Then perhaps another job you can undertake. I cannot afford to negotiate for your services right now, but it will all be added to it. You deserve money for speaking to Iberio alone.
I
Please.
don't disagree.
As swiftly as possible.
My friends, I think we should split up.
Agreed.
Aaron, I believe you've drawn the short straw by nature of the birth lottery to speak to Iberio.
Of course.
Yeah, he was quite impressed with you, wasn't he? Because you introduced yourself as a noble. Is that right? Yeah.
I introduced myself as... Well, I don't think I explicitly called myself a noble. I just sort of stood there and looked a bit noble and had a second name.
But
if I can get him to keep things brief, then yes, I can speak to him.
Perhaps Father Anton and I should speak to DeSaber. Steer and
I'll
Escrow
go
go
to
speak to the barbarians.
I'll go to the Askrai, you go to the barbarians.
The barbarian was a misspeaking on my part. He didn't ask you to go to the barbarians. He just
I thought the Chieftain's Axe was a pub in Barbarian Town where we would find this.
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
So have we hit 100% of the NPC targets here? We've got So I think that's so. Askrai, you're with me.
Okay, yeah,
we're going to the pub.
Nice.
Okay. So you all dash out, and as you do so, Adjutant Bellalia takes a couple of paces towards you and says, "At this stage, the Duke would agree to most terms, but be sensible." Okay.
Steve's kind of rounding the horse and going, "Sneaky, sensible. Everyone hires me for stuff I can't do." Kind of driving down the hill.
Awesome. Why don't we? Sam stepped away very momentarily, so we won't go with Sam immediately. Instead, let us go with Elindra and Tom. And Revelia, presumably. Are you getting back on your horse, I'm assuming, for speed?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I wasn't quite clear from the conversation with the witch, like, where she'd seen the Templars, but presumably they're close enough to the city to be seen. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we're going quickly.
Sure. You're thinking about that, so give me a cunning roll. Let's say, you know what? -1. And the -1 is just because you haven't made the leap. So I feel like I should give you some penalty.
So, Stephen hasn't made the leap. Linda rolled a 20.
Yeah, you've got no idea. You think that the sun must be within sight of the city walls. So, yeah, you really got to go. The three of you kind of gallop through the streets until you find your way to the Weary Legs. Outside of it, you can see Fenring and Earthons kind of sitting opposite each other on a stone wall outside. They've got kind of gathered together some plain pieces from kind of like grey and white stones scattered outside and are playing some kind of game you actually don't recognize against each other on the wall.
Fenring, Earthons, we need to speak to DeSaber now, and I think it's a conversation that you're going to want to be in as well.
Fenring, all right, let's go. He stands up and says, "I suppose it's 4-0. And Earthons kind of goes, "It is, isn't it?" And sweeps the stones onto the fence onto the ground. All of you kind of walk up through to up the stairs to the upper stage of the inn. Fenring, there's a couple of guards by the door. Fenring gives a tap. And you hear a voice call out. You all enter, and DeSaber is stood there, kind of like she's been kind of like looking out of the window at the people walking around below, and turns and kind of like peers at you both and says, "Something is terribly wrong."
Yes. I will keep it as brief as I can. I don't know to what extent that you are aware of this, any of this, it doesn't matter. Duke Ilidar and Ombardo, and I suspect some others, have been engaged in some quite radically progressive ideas when it comes to the church and its relationship with the Temple of Many. What we've seen in the city is the Duke's attempt to move forward with this agenda, followed by the backlash from the church. The Whip of Prios is here. We've had to dispatch most of them. They kidnapped the Duke. They kidnapped Leandro. We've recovered Leandro, but did we get the name of the? Of course we did. Yeah, the Sadra.
Yeah.
The Sadra has spoken to Deputy Commander Ivano Viara. They are coming. They are screaming heresy. I think they want to raise the city to the ground. We thought it might be prudent to get you and all of the people here inside the city walls while we figure out the next steps.
Yes, of course. Immediately.
Yes.
And Tom leans forward and says, it was all self-defense, Lightbringer. Of course. I would have never doubted it. Let us proceed then. Sir Alindra, Father Anton. She kind of like walks past you. Fenring goes, fuck.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying you have seen Ivano VR before, Alindra? You've seen him across like a busy drill yard or something like that.
Yeah. I've not been in close proximity to him, but I know him by reputation.
I've spoken to him several times. You do not know what trouble we're in.
I've got some idea, and that is as much idea as I want to have, and yet here we are.
He nods and turns and leaves, and Erfons just kind of shakes his head and goes, every time.
I know. We don't do this on purpose.
He kind of like unbuckles his sword and holds it by his side and walks out. As you make your way out of the inn, you can see that the Lightbringer has kind of called all the caravan together. He's gathering everyone towards the wagons, which are already starting to move along. She is also calling out in a kind of preaching fashion to everyone that if they wish to hear the words of Prios from the mouth of the Lightbringer, they should follow her inside the walls of the city. And a great number of people around who like news of her being here has spread in the immediate area already, and by the time you head through the gates there is a great procession of people behind you, heading within the walls of the city and then on towards the mound. Let's jump over to it's only Arendar. You is anyone with you? I think it's just you and Ferrin, right?
Unless Revelia went with Alindra, but she probably did.
She probably did.
Then it's just me and Farron.
Okay. You arrive at the Galea trading house again. And when you kind of like walk up to the door, the guard there says, Sadar, do you wish to speak to Master Iberio again?
Yes, please.
Of
With
course.
great urgency.
Please go in. Clearly the guards have been told to like look out for you or expect you. And you walk in, one of the guards walks in ahead of you, and mere seconds later, Master Iberio kind of like half runs down the stairs towards where you are and says, Sadar, I knew we would be able to do business. Please step into, yes, this office will do. He kind of closes the door behind you, waves away the guards, and says, how can Galea help you?
Master Iberio, I have been sent here personally by the Duke to request your services in a matter of utmost importance. The future
Galea
of the city
will help however it can.
The future of the city itself is in peril, and he has asked the company of Galea if they would bring forth their soldiers in defense of the city.
Sadar, this, I hope you don't mind me saying, is not exactly the conversation I was hoping to have.
Of course not. It is not a conversation I wish to bring. It is a conversation no one wishes to bring. But in these troubling times, Master Iberio, we must all do what we must for our royalty, for our Duke, and for our city. Do you agree?
Yes. On behalf of the Duke, you say?
Yes.
Might I know why the city is in peril?
Unfortunately, there is a group of heretic fallen Templars heading to the city.
The Knights of Dead
Yes.
Prios are coming here
Yes.
to well, I am authorized by Galea to make this choice, certainly. Of course, I am being master of this trading house. His eyes kind of narrow, and he seems to take on like a slightly shrewder. He clearly thinks he's being subtle about it, but he's very much not. And he says, "Oh, I suppose matters could be negotiated. We do have between 15 and 25 competent warriors and archers. But of course, I would be being remiss in my duties to Galea if I did not duty-free status for Galea goods for the next 5 years through Ravenna. Oh, and a protection for a barge that is to leave for Vojvodar. It's collecting a precious cargo, which will then be shipped to Agrella. It needs a group of reliable, expensive sellswords. Those two things. Yes, those two things. My services are not personally required, are they?
Are you a warrior?
No.
Then I believe not. I
Those
cannot
two things.
negotiate on terms of the Duke. How reasonable do those things sound?
I don't think Arendar would have any reasonable way of knowing. So you know what? Give me a cunning roll, and I'm going to say you at least have some vague knowledge of the world of these things in your very young years. So I'm going to say roll at a -3 of cunning to see how aware you are of how ludicrous the things he's asking for is.
I'm going to give it a try. Oh, I succeed.
Okay. The group of sellswords, you're absolutely sure
Fine.
Duke Inadar's pockets will stretch that, no problem. Duty free for 5 years is a lot. That's a lot. You're sure it wouldn't break his bank or anything, because it would just be less taxes, essentially, right? Less duty. But like, it's definitely a lot. And you feel like Duke Inadar would probably be quite grateful to you if you at least tried to negotiate the length of that down.
Master Iberio, as citizens of the city, you are called in duty of this city, and unfortunately that includes paying a fair amount for any necessary rebuilding of the city that may occur. Unfortunately, 5 years in the current circumstance is, well, quite a lot.
Okay.
And may I also remind you that there will be nowhere to be paid from should Ravenna fall and we all die.
I think that's a very reasonable argument. So I'm not going to give you any. In fact, I'll give you a little bonus. Why don't you roll persuasion at +2? Because I think you made two very good arguments there.
Okay. That is a firm success. 8 under 13.
Points taken. 3 years?
2.
Can you give me another persuasion roll, this time without the +2?
Success.
2. 2 years duty free for all Galea. I will send the troops immediately. Immediately. Captain! Captain! He kind of steps out and starts shouting for the troops. They will head to the mound forthwith, Sadar. Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful, vicious negotiating skills. Galea is always looking for good talent, you know.
That is very kind of you to say, sir, and I shall bear it in mind.
Okay.
And I'm sure the company Galea shall be remembered in the histories of Ravenia. I'll
So,
ride off into the night.
absolutely. That's especially impressive because it's not in the night. Quite yet. It's getting darker. It's more towards the end of
Aaron
time.
collides with Alindra, who stood in the doorway.
Yeah. Let me very quickly look. I just want to check where the chieftain's axe is. If I've got it on my thing. Is it on my thing? Chieftain's axe, just so I know.
While you look that up, I just want to say that was spectacular, John.
The legend of 100th Thaler Dar has been completely redeemed.
Yeah.
Nice. Where is it? Okay, yeah. The chieftain's axe is kind of smack dab. It's sort of in the middle of Barbarian Town, so you have to like ride a little way until you get there. People are the mood is still much the same in the city. People seem a little confused. Like the speech was a big festival, big speech, and then not, but then they saw the Duke. So people are a little bit confused, but they're kind of celebrating anyway as you ride through. Certainly, if like there's anything in like the sight of the city, no one is spotting it yet. Steo and Ascarai, you emerge into the smoky and kind of slightly pungent smelling tavern of the Chieftain's Axe. It's definitely in fact, before I describe what it's like, I just want to Control F the PDF so that I want to stay in lore, you know what I mean? So let's find out if there's actually anything about the Chieftain's Axe. No. So, with that in mind, the Chieftain's Axe is a much smaller, dingier tavern than the ones you're used to, and especially honestly, clanfolk taverns tend to be cleaner and more spacious and lighter than most Ambrian ones. This is definitely a kind of mishmash of both, and it's a bit dingy, a bit ill-reputed seeming. But no one is immediately trying to start a fight with you or staring at you or anything like that. You enter. There's quite a few people here. You recognize amongst them the telltale signs of kind of explorers, treasure hunters, monster slayers, people wearing a conglomeration of different kind of weapons and armors, and some of them with some part of them that look like that perhaps they've been reclaimed from Davakar in some fashion, not from Symbaroum. That would be extreme. Yeah, Steo and Ascarai, there you are.
I think Steo, thoroughly enjoying not having to be sneaky anymore, is just going to go up to the bartender, put a shilling on the table, and go, "Where's the treasure hunter, the captain?"
You mean Athelda?
That's the one.
It's over there in the corner. He swipes the coin. Hey, no trouble.
No trouble, just opportunity.
I've heard that before. He slips the coin into a pocket, and you stride over to Athelda. She is kind of in her middle years with a big kind of cloud of grey curled hair around her head. She has a kind of an array of empty tankards in front of her, and a very large, oddly curved sword at her hip. And she sat there with her arms around two kind of maybe like women in their 20s or 30s, in a kind of you've seen people who are reputed enough among their peers that they kind of swag around with sort of pretty young individuals, lording it in a minor fashion in their particular subsection of society. Athelda definitely has that feel to her. She looks up at both of you as you approach and goes, "That's close enough. Nice gear."
You available for some emergency work? Steo will kind of hoist the bag of 20 thaler he got from the Duke earlier and just put it on the table.
I'll buy you one of my men.
You do well to go to Thistlehold. Attitude like that. There's trouble. That is the advance.
I mean, tell me what kind of trouble, and maybe we can talk about it.
There's 50, maybe 100 men coming to the city. They mean to burn it. The Duke needs help.
Men? What men?
Armored men with weapons and fire. Now, you want information from me, or do you want that small fortune, and do you want to come with me and bring your best, and we go to the Mound?
I need more information from you. Are you talking about Templars?
Yeah.
50 to 100 Templars.
Yeah.
I know maybe a dozen of the folks here who take on Templars for pay. But they're good. They're 20 thala good each.
Like I said, you can make that case to the penniless infantryman here, or you can make it to Duke Inadar. But I need your buy-in. Duke Inadar has said survival of the city might be on his line, so you can take the risk that they might have to negotiate that down a bit. You can take the risk that you'll be going back home tonight to a scorching ruin.
There are other cities, and you just told me that they're coming.
Sure.
So poor little infantryman working for the Duke. Here are my terms. I have a dozen rangers, warriors, mystics, 20 thaler each. 50 for me, and 50 for no good. She gestures over to the corner where a truly huge ogre is curled up, kind of like a cat, on a large bench and snoring away. Oh, and since you came in with such an attitude, a 1-year treasure hunting license for everyone involved. And I'll take that cloak, the pretty green one.
On Askarai.
Gesturing at you, Askarai.
No.
Yeah, I think I second that.
Then Ravenna burns, I suppose.
I mean, if you're going to give up 50 thala and 20 thala for all these guys over this piece of trash they wear around, I guess that's up to you. I doubt they'd be very happy with you.
If it's a... sorry, I'm confused. She was asking for all of it, not like an alternate.
No, isn't she asking for the money for these people?
She wants 20 thala each for most of them, 50 for her, 50 for the ogre. To be honest, not adding that up is not going to make much of a dent in Duke Inadar's. Well, like, it's not a huge amount of money. It's actually pretty standard pay for a really bad job. So, like, it's not too bad. She wants a 1-year license for everyone involved, which, again, from the sound of it, is like 14, 15 people. Like, again, this is not... It's nothing like what Iberia was asking, right? But, of course, the sticking point is she wants your Lindworm cloak. Mostly because Theo was giving her lip. So, blame him. If it's trash and the city's about to burn, then surely it's worth it.
It's got sentimental value.
Oh.
I'm sorry, but I've done my good deed for the day. So, like, there's no more good deeds from me. You're getting a lot of money. You can take it or leave it.
The cloak has sentimental value. Does Ravenna?
Not to us.
Not to me.
Okay. I'm going to need a persuasion roll from both of you. And I'm going to need at least one success.
I think I've roleplayed so well, I'm not beyond spending XP on this one. I really enjoyed that dialogue. That would have been a success if I wasn't elderly.
Oh, she doesn't respect you because you're old.
Askrai, before I spend my XP.
Absolutely not. Askra has terrible persuasion.
Okay, here we go. Oh, thank goodness for that.
Okay. Steo, do you think it might be a good bit of persuasion if you turn to walk away?
Yeah, I think like for the dramatic effect, it's like after Askrai said not to me, and I'm like also not to me, I'll just kind of go, come on then, and me and Askrai will depart.
All right. I was yanking your hooks. I'll take the pay and the licenses. Keep the pretty cloak.
Great, come to the mind. You do well in Thistlewood. I'm sure you have already.
Don't like it. It's a shithole. She stares at you with like a half smile on her face.
That's my shithole. See you on the battlefield.
You can hear her like rousing people, including like kind of like nudging the sleeping ogre awake as you depart. All of you arrive back at the mound. Desaber is insists on leading everyone through that she's already leading through the gates into the interior of the mound, which leads to a great many people stood on the open area in front of the gates, kind of looking around a bit beside themselves at being allowed in here, although allowed is a technical term. In front of you, the Duke, again, Commander Berlioz, Captain Yalna, and a number of other individuals are standing. You can recognize someone who looks to be the local chapter master of the Order Magica. You see the envoy, Mulgara, who you've spoken with, standing there as well. You can see the liturgs of the Sun Temple. And as you come in, Duke Inadar looks over at you kind of like somberly and gestures for you to come and join them. He says, I hope you have good news, friends. We'll step inside the tent. I suppose this is what could be called a war council. He ducks inside the tent and waits for you to join him. And I think we will end the session there, folks. There we go. Lovely stuff. Thank you to my players and to viewers as usual. I will do some blurb and then we will go to chat and questions and things like that. If you check down below these lovely streams, wherever you are watching, you will find a bunch of links to our various platforms, our Patreon, our Discord, our social media, our merch store, blah, 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 blah. We run loads of stuff at the moment on a weekly or fortnightly basis. Mondays is, we just had the end of Warhammer, and we're going to have the end of We Deal in Lead in just a couple of weeks' time. And then just after that, we are going to pick up another long-running campaign. Johnny will be taking the Monday crew through Masks of Nyarlathotep, the famed Call of Cthulhu big old campaign. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. Wednesdays is Symbaroum, of course. That's this. Thursdays has been Yellow King fortnightly for a little while now. 1895 Paris Cosmic Horror. We have all the Cosmic Horror. And there's going to be more, because starting tomorrow, we'll have the pre-recorded series of Delta Green that Steve made a while ago with a select group of Telling Tales crew. And as I say, that's pre-recorded. It will be premiering on YouTube, so it'll be a stream-like experience on YouTube, albeit it's pre-recorded. But on Twitch, we can't do that because Twitch took away premieres. So it'll just go live as a video on demand for you to watch that. But if you want the stream experience as close as you can get with it being pre-recorded, people in chat and talking and stuff, YouTube will be the site to watch it on when it airs tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow, unless something goes wrong. I don't think it'll go wrong. It'll be fine. We also run one-shots on a semi-regular basis. We've been a little lax on those this year, but the next one is on Saturday, the 20th of June, July rather, not June anymore, where we will be playing Cyborg. We'll be returning to it. We sprang immediately on going back to it after the success of the first video, which is why it's happening now, nearly 2 years later, I think. Or maybe nearly 1 year later. I can't remember. Anyway, we're playing Cyborg. Okay. I think that's everything. John, why don't you start throwing things on the screen? Ranadandra, Askarai did nothing wrong. On which occasion?
When
This
he
was-
shot
oh,
Alindra.
Shooting Alindra.
Specifically shooting.
Yeah.
She had it coming.
Oh, Asra is kind of becoming the bad person. But
He's got. I've noticed. I think it's particularly when it comes to the Sun Church. He's just real cold, like fully
I mean,
ruthless.
To be fair, he was raised by clan folk, and
yeah,
there's
I like to think
as
it's kind of
we
a
found
different.
out in this story, there is a history there.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely more pronounced. I feel in this kind of part of the campaign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. We'll go next. 42. Now is the time to renegotiate the Duke finding fee. Yeah, that was. All it turns out he didn't need to because the Duke was like, "I will shower you with money." So it's yeah, might be all right.
That was 20 Thar each just for finding him, right? Like if
Yeah, you got the 20
somehow
for finding
survive
him.
this. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
he
another
has,
payday.
yeah, he promised you 40 and sponsorship and various other nebulous things for bringing Leandro back, which you've also already done.
Yeah.
So now anything else he might offer you might be gravy, or maybe this is just,
Duty free for 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just gonna stock
All
up
the
on cigarettes and wine and
Yeah, all the Toblerone you can eat.
Yeah. Next. Ranadandra, keep talking and everyone will forget the buffet. Yes. Someone else also pointed out well, you said here, it was this. Yes, I didn't pause for breath, as I mentioned food and drink on the table, because I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
We all thought it.
We all
You
thought
can
it.
think,
This is
you can think it all you want. You can think it all you want.
We did. I want you to know that we did.
And I'm fine with you wanting me to know that. I'm fine.
I
think
also
someone suggested we ask for a buffet as well.
yes.
We'll need a fine buffet to refresh our bodies and lift our spirits. I think I might cancel Delta Green tomorrow, Steve. It's just not the right time. No, of course not.
I would also like to point out that in our private chat, because we were never given the name of the Houndsmaster, we put forward the suggestions, just in case Matt needed them, of Baramina, Baramondra, and Baramea.
Okay. Taken under advisement.
That's going to
The
reveal this.
Houndsmaster's not surviving
Although,
this siege anyway.
I found the Houndmaster, like, it was funny we were talking about shipping, because I immediately started shipping the Houndmaster and Askarai. I didn't know why, really.
Oh, after those name suggestions, she's getting killed off in the siege anyway, so it doesn't matter.
But maybe that could make it a tragedy, Yeah.
Yeah, we're set up for some high drama there.
Yeah.
And if we survive the siege, Askarai's getting a dog.
I haven't done much fridging, Maybe we can engage a bit of that. That always gets the audience going. Next.
I'd like to say I'm only putting this one up because I think Chris was the one that favorited it.
Steo English retiree confirmed. Yeah.
This was in reference to us non-consensually going and retiring.
You're not an emigrant to Zarek clans. You're an expat in Zarek clans.
Which is different for reasons.
Yeah.
To give it its full name, a previous Patrick.
That's true. Look it up. John said, "Pet the cat, you coward." Was he active or something?
No, this is. Oh God, where is it? It was a follow-on from another Thoranda.
Oh God! Oh God! I alerted him.
He has.
I pointed at him down like that for anyone who wasn't watching, and he just went.
You activated him.
Yeah, Rana, pet the cat, you coward priest. Oh, the reluctant Theurg, yes.
Yeah.
Just my favorite pub. Don't let Askarai shoot the hostage by mistake. I thought he might. I thought he might just walk into the farm and just. Which, to be fair, in this game we might even as well not roll. You know, I mean, like it's.
I think we've
it's
been
always
together. I think we've been together as a party long enough now that I think people have got used to treating Ascarai as just like an occupational hazard. Like it's sometimes you get shot.
Yeah.
I do feel bad. Like, as Sam feels bad about constantly shooting people.
I think Sam probably feels worse than Ascarai.
Yeah, that is probably true.
Ascarai's like, go in the way. Like,
yeah, my shot was good. You blocked my shot. This is your fault.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh god.
I think Ascarai is still a net positive. So, you know, you take the rough with the smooth.
We could all dream of that kind of high praise. Next. What happened to Degesto? 42 Degesto. I very briefly mentioned Degesto back in the first episode of What's Bred in the Bone by saying that I believe I said something like, it probably wasn't something, but it was the spirit. They're in Thistlehold. Degesto and Malamai are both still in Thistlehold. And I think I may have said something along the lines of like, Steo doesn't even have time to like, he was going to like, planning on reconnecting with them as well as his normal companions. But like, yeah, like Degesto, Malamai, they're both good. As far as we know, they're both in Thistlehold. Will they turn up again?
Yes.
Who knows? Yes. It's a campaign run by me. Yes, characters will reoccur. So, yeah. Chicken in the Cage. Karen Dar, proud owner of a beautiful cat and trying to convince the whole realm that their family is of utmost importance. I'm afraid that nickname is going to stick.
I feel like Aaron does basically ask to speak to the manager quite often.
I think Karen Dar is your buffet.
Yeah. The difference is, I'm not going to be aggrieved by this nickname, and therefore everyone will forget about it pretty quickly.
Another difference is that this was witty.
Yeah, it's never going to catch up.
And not just repeating something over and over again, you know?
Oh, I see. When Matt does a pun, it's fine. But when I do it, it's basically a war crime. Got it clear.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, we're all on the same wavelength. I love it. Steve, characters will reoccur apart from that one. I don't know what you mean.
You do.
He's gonna reoccur. Chicken in the Cage. I already did not cold-bloodedly kill someone today. That's enough good deeds for one day. Again,
exactly.
If only we could all, you know, how many days have we thought? If only I could say this today.
I got when Ascarai said that, I got really strong Michael Douglas in Falling Down kind of vibes. Like I could have killed that guy and I didn't. I'm being nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I like how
Elindra
was like, I'm sure she's not going to just want to talk to us. It's going to be far worse than that. And she did just want to talk to you, and it was far worse than that.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Just the worst that could have gone.
I'm really looking forward to the upcoming set piece. That's all I'm going to say. Stephen, next session, another conversation with an important man in the tent. Those are the most stressful sessions. Yeah, we have had entire sessions just be that, more or less.
And it was the most stressful session I think we've ever had.
Yeah. But unlike that, Duke Inadar, at least you like Duke Inadar more, right? Yeah. I hope. Trying to make him likable.
I less feel like if we say the wrong thing, he's going to have us executed.
Yeah, well, I think we theoretically could run away.
You've just given me an not be hunted to the ends of Ambria. Really pivot the story. Next, we got anything else? Jukinadar is cute. I think he looks like quite a handsome young man.
Yeah.
So, yes. Cool. Okay, there. Lovely stuff. Now, it isn't in concrete yet, but I think it's quite likely we're not going to run next week. Reason being, as for many reasons that many people already know, especially our patrons, July is super important for us. It's our delivery month for the soft, our Kickstarter. So I'm quite busy. So I think I'm going to restrict myself to only run one stream per week. And next week is the one shot. So it makes sense to not probably run Symbaroum next week, and probably also not Yellow King. I'll put that on the table and put that out there, but these things aren't concrete yet, as I say. So it seems very likely we'll see you again it'll be at least 2 weeks before we come back to Symbaroum. But it's all good. It's all good. All right, folks. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you next time, whenever next time is, for more Symbaroum. Farewell. Goodbye.